Okay. Thanks. Okay. All right. There'll be a lot of disappointed viewers.
Good, I didn't recognize you.
All right, my mic is on.
Very different for the view. Very nice. Different glasses. I thought you were a lawyer from Boston.
I did a double take too. Looks good. I mean, it's good as it can get.
Hello.
Coming in right under the wire.
No, you're late by 5 minutes.
Oh, my clock says 11:57.
I did. Impressive.
Is she going to be here today? No.
I'll have to remember my clock is
Okay. Anyway.
8 minutes away.
I know. I keep the one in my car 6 minutes
I
fast.
thought it was.
And I always make the calculation.
ready?
I know it's 6 minutes fast, so I always make the calculation.
Now they're playing with their iPads.
Lisa, if you want to use mine. No, I'm good. I can't sit on the first one, so between Michael and I. Or
Okay, we're recording. Let's get going. Time out. My thing's gone.
Did you put in your iBooks?
No, I put it somewhere else. God damn it. All right, I'm out. You're on your own. That's a drag. I guess I need a paper copy too. Sorry.
It's gone for good?
Well, I downloaded it, but
You sure it didn't go into iBooks?
I don't have iBooks.
No.
It's usually the level.
Oh,
I think the chairman should always have a paper copy anyway.
no, it's
I agree.
just last night too.
That's a good idea, actually. So at least one, so there's one person that has it.
Well, we're gonna have a brief timeout. While
Everybody can re-download
while
it.
I see if we can download it here or if it's just forever. Yeah, we can do something. It's doing it. Yeah. Well, it's trying. Okay. Anyway, so this is the regularly scheduled Town of Nantucket Board of Appeals meeting for Thursday, February 13th, 2014. Can I get an approval of the agenda as amended? Anybody want to make that motion, Michael? Anybody want to second it? Lisa seconds. Who's sitting anyway? Five. There's 6 of us up here. So Mark, we'll just say you're not sitting for now.
Sure, except I'm on the first one.
I
Yeah.
can, are you on the first one?
I'm not on the first one
So I
either.
can get
So.
off. I just
Well,
thought
no,
I'd do
we're
that.
just going to get the normal business out of the way. Okay, so anyway, so there's been a motion made and seconded on approval of the agenda, so any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, mine downloaded. How about approval of the minutes, September 12th, 2013, and January 9th, 2014?
I'll make them, do you want to do this separately?
No, we can do it. I mean, unless anybody has any discussion about either. Anybody have any discussion about either of the minutes? No? So,
Make that motion to approve the minutes.
as written?
As written.
Okay, is there a second?
One second.
Susan seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, so the first order of business, I'm not sitting on it, was Susan, Mark, Jeff Thayer, and Michael O'Mara. So, Mike, are you taking over? Well, Michael sort of read in on this. So, Susan, you want to take over?
Sure. So this is application 02-14. Oh, yeah, that's right, you're presenting today, yeah.
I'm here, representing Center Town LLC. And I brought a big plan in case you're not able to see the plans on your iPads. Michael, I think the other three saw it before. So it shows the existing conditions and the proposed site plan. I know 3 of you have heard this application previously, so I don't want to go over too many details that you don't want to hear. Michael, if you have any particular questions, we're looking for special permit relief to do work in the rear setback here that's required 5 feet. We are looking to increase the ground cover, and we are looking to waive 23 parking spots and a loading zone parking area. We will be replacing one street parking by closing up that curb cut. As you can see, existing, there is fire escape here. The building goes basically all the way to the rear setback. We would be improving that to be at a distance of 2.8 at its closest point. Side and front setbacks are at 0. We're getting rid of this, creating a fire stair column here. Increasing to, I think 55% from 42% ground cover. Commercial downtown allows for 75%, but our lot is slightly undersized, so we fall in that odd exception. We need to come to you guys for special permit relief. And the parking, the other thing that was noticed is open space. We're currently at 11%. By removing the parking, our calculation actually increases to 21%, so we no longer are looking for that relief. So, I don't know, Michael, you've watched the tapes. I didn't present at the first hearing, but I think some of you had your questions answered before. I'm happy to go through. I have floor plans if you want to see uses. And some of our thinking on it, I'm happy to help.
Rachel, if I understand correctly, that even though the building is over the height limitation, that what you're doing is not increasing that intensity, or?
That's correct. I think Melissa brought that point
Yeah,
up.
I mean, as you can see on this one was not in your packets. They actually show the building height
Right.
calculation on this particular plan, and we're essentially staying right in that same range, and it's 32.61 to 32.64. Our goal is to turn it eventually into an educational facility with offices and classrooms, a student lounge and cafe on what will be the lower level. We are planning to lift that up, make it required height and code compliant. It is currently not code compliant in any way for commercial use. You will notice the new building is code compliant.
Is part of that for the elevator as well?
There's going to be, we're going to install an elevator at street level. It'll go half a floor down to the basement. The lower level half a floor up to the first floor, so that people can actually get in and out of the building. Until the educational uses in town are more established, it's something that we're working on. I mean, we're currently working with UMass Boston, we work with WPI, but until we have a bigger group, we would like to be able to use it as a permitted use for office space. The only new addition. And a cafe, that's what I was going to say. The only addition would be a cafe on the ground floor. Eventually, that would be more of a student lounge kind of area. The apartment on the 3rd floor, we envision being an attendant use to the use of the building. So, and as straight offices, we would hope to rent it at a favorable rent to nonprofits, people who we'd like to bring downtown for year-round space. Happy to share the floor.
No alcohol sales at the cafe? I thought Melissa said that.
That's absolutely fun. It's not our intention. We're not looking to compete with any of the businesses around the plenty restaurants serving alcohol there. We're really actually hoping to, appeal maybe to a group who would be more college age and not even drinking it at the coffee house. We anticipate 45 seats. Parking waiver calculations, you guys have in your packets, but I'm happy to share with you how we got to them if you want more explanation.
I have a
We
question.
talked about the parking. I don't, it's your decision to give up the parking.
Yeah, and we did it by looking at the uses in the place, but really the sort of most extreme level we counted in our calculations. Hallways, anything that could be used as an office, the 23 spaces is at an office use. For educational use, it's 21 spaces. But we feel like in the downtown, we encourage people to come by buses. Eventually, if there are kids in the downtown, undergraduates, they would be living in that area and walking more on the campus.
What's the maximum ground cover allowed in CDT with a special permit?
75%.
In CDT, normally it's 75% ground cover.
Right.
But,
Okay.
So we're well under that, but we're slightly subsidized lot.
Right.
So it requires us to come and get that special.
But with a pre-existing non-conforming, you can go up to 75 with a special permit.
Correct.
So we would be no greater
Mm.
than.
Right. We're not asking for a full.
Mhm.
Mark?
No.
Diverse comment surrounding neighborhood, fits with the other uses. And I think Rachel and Melissa should be commended for, reaching out and sharing the plans with everybody, stakeholder here.
Yeah, in fact, our nearest neighbor is, quote unquote, thrilled that we are doing something in the building. And that is our neighbor, the Shapiros, who are on this rear lot line side.
Mhm.
They would be the ones most affected. We do currently have HDC approved plans.
Anyone from the audience wish to speak?
Richard Glidden. In the last 40 years, I have walked by that building more than anyone in this town. It's safe to say that without fear of being accused of I don't know what, but I think it's wonderful that you're doing, taking this building, and it's a sad need repair, and make it a useful part of the community. I think it's very, very nice, and I hope you approve the application.
Any other comments or questions from the board? No one wish to make a motion?
Recollection was last meeting, there were no issues by anybody, we just needed to continue.
We needed a quorum, basically.
Yes, that was the reason for the continuance.
So anyone wish to make a motion?
I'll make that motion to grant the relief as requested. And we have to condition that with our standard construction protocol.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, we anticipated that, it just reminded me of the dates.
So Memorial Day to Labor Day?
I think that's it.
Labor Day, or is that where we're at now? Do we back off to Labor Day?
Yeah,
So it's on
the first
June
banking
15th,
day after Labor Day.
Yeah, October 1st I thought was the date.
Was it?
Downtown, Labor Day is pretty,
So we bumped it up then, June 15th, you're saying? Is that- All right, June
This was
15th.
written down.
All right, June 15th to October
Yeah, that
1st.
was in this.
Okay. Okay.
Do we put in a no alcohol sales condition, or?
well, they'd have to go to the Board of Selectmen for an alcohol license anyway, so wouldn't it be dealt with at their level? I mean, we can put it in, but I don't see the need.
I mean, is the cafe allowed by right? I mean, they're not asking for relief for that, so.
Well, I think you could just mention that the applicant said be no alcohol sales.
Sure.
I think so.
It's reasonable?
That was a concern last time, Jeff, and
Yeah.
no problem.
Yeah, okay.
It's not our intent.
All right, so we'll add that in as a condition.
If we want to change that, thinking, we'll come
Yeah.
back to you, just not a problem.
Any other conditions you can think of? No? Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael, for
Thank you.
reading that.
Sure.
Answer, Sean.
Let's see what the numbers.
Yes.
And then, ask you to make sure everybody announces who's speaking, introduce themselves for the record, and I won't be here and have to take it off the tape.
Okay, thank you. If I forget, somebody remind me. Okay, so, Sachem's Path, 76-11, is going to be continued to March 13th because of the weather. I don't think Andrew wanted to come over, or could come over. So, there is a fair amount of material that has been submitted. It would be great if everybody could take a close look at that, so we're prepared next time to deal with this. So,
requested an interim meeting if you were willing to do so before March 15th, in addition to some work session meetings that will take place with staff.
What is the advantage to them to an interim meeting?
I suppose to, from my understanding, to get the technical amendments off the slate, since they were unable to come today.
But, I mean, I understand that, but I mean, does that really help them in moving forward in any way? Because, I mean, I think we're prepared to take care of those relatively quickly
Right.
at the regular meeting.
I offered to them, subsequent to our conversations, that they could do all in one fell swoop in March. Their preference, Kevin and Andrew, was to take care of the technical amendments first, in the event that the substantive amendments take an exceeding amount of time.
Well, but I think at the next regularly scheduled meeting, we certainly could, you tell me, is there any reason why we couldn't vote on the technical portions that we're in agreement with, even if the other ones do need more discussion?
You mean today?
No. I mean, at the March meeting.
He's hoping that.
So I guess I don't see the net reason to have a special meeting just for the technical amendments, unless somebody else does. Mr. O'Mara?
Not me.
You know, I guess if it were precluding them from applying for some other portion of this final approval, I might be more.
I'll ask them that specific question. I didn't ask that specific question, I said, what's your preference? Did not frame it that way, so.
Has everybody taken a look at just the technical things, maybe, or? I mean, I don't think there are going to be issues with the technical stuff, so I think that would be relatively quick and easy, and then at the regularly scheduled meeting, we would get into the.
Right. Do you think that they were hoping that we dealt with the technical issues early, so at the regularly scheduled meeting, we could concentrate on the other things and hopefully get through those at that meeting as well, and not have to take up all the time to do those?
Well, I think they are, but I don't think we need to discuss the technical amendments at great length, if at all, really. As
Well,
long as
the other
everybody's
thing
read
is,
them.
if it does take 2 meetings, we'd be going into April. Is there any reason, what's so magical about a date now? I mean, we approved this initially with the,
Were there some
Year and a
things that
half
were,
ago.
but were there some things though that
right?
were brought up that wasn't going to allow them to start the infrastructure? I thought the last
The
time we
entirety of the question is whether or not
Yeah.
they can start. the-
Right, exactly.
I think if it was that important, they would have been here today, because other people haven't come over today. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't impossible to get here.
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I think there's a member from the CPC in the audience. Richard,
Okay.
are you here for the CPC?
Do you want to, I mean, are we technically just
Opening this, or
opening this,
for
or
any discussion or
were we
not?
just having a discussion?
They respectfully requested a continuance.
Right.
So we can.
So we're not really discussing it.
Okay.
But they're also asking us to have a special meeting about it?
They have requested.
And I'm not condoning the special meeting, I was just trying to figure out why they would want that, but why don't we just say we don't want to do a special meeting, and we'll see them in March?
Yeah, I don't think the special meeting is going to help them move forward in any way, because those are not questions that were, the technical stuff wasn't the issue.
Do you feel that Andrew Singer would need to re-present on those technical issues? We went through them in pretty, fine-tooth comb detail in the January meeting.
I personally don't think so.
I think it
mean,
would depend on if there was someone in the audience who had questions about certain things, which I think would happen at a special meeting anyway, and I don't know.
You have to be noticed properly.
Yeah, I mean,
the
I think
notice,
that,
like-
by the way, other board members, Ed Marchant, who some of you know, some of you don't, or maybe all of you remember him, he was part of the process early, and he has been hired again. So he, as you saw maybe in your notes or your packet, he has looked at some of the stuff. There were 1 or 2 questions, I think, on the technical part of the application that still remained open, if you will. But I don't think it's necessary to have another meeting, personally.
I agree.
Okay, so, we don't have to vote or anything, right? It's just, so Richard, do you want to speak up at this? I mean, is that kosher? Go ahead, Leslie.
I was just going to remind the board, this isn't a public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a discussion of a previous application at a public meeting.
Okay,
So you don't have to follow all the protocol
Okay.
you would for a public hearing. So if you want to take testimony, that's fine.
okay. Does anybody want to speak about this?
Just to be clear, though, the neighbors have been noticed on this modification, they haven't.
They have not, we talked about that with Mr. Marchand, and it was his opinion that this did not rise to the level of a public hearing, because if they're not substantive modifications in that they would affect the interest of others. We did discuss that with them.
I'm not sure I agree.
I don't necessarily agree either, but
But do you want to discuss that right now?
well, if our consultant feels that the neighbors don't need to be notified, it's a little concerning to me that some of the, if I understand it correctly, and I wasn't here, I did watch the tape. In terms of completing the infrastructure, and at what point that gets completed, could affect the neighbors that spent several meetings here. So I would have thought that they'd be notified. But
It's a fair point. We discussed it, and nothing else substantive is changing other than timing. And I guess Ed came down that, and I think, Leslie, you were in agreement with him, that it didn't necessarily change the project as much as it's 50-50, frankly. So if we want to tell them right now to renotice it, I mean, we would want to do that now. So could they even be here?
well, since we've already taken testimony at one meeting,
But again, it's not testimony because it wasn't a noticed meeting. It's more of a
Right.
discussion. It's murky.
okay. We had a lot of people from the neighborhood at several of those meetings. And
Were there concerns about the timing of things, or, I'm just trying to remember what the neighborhood concerns were about specifically, if it would be things that we're talking about.
Well, that certainly, I think, were concerns about traffic, where the roads
Right.
were going, and
Right.
by stretching, you could make the argument by stretching the project out, those concerns, are still there. And the project, by the way, was not presented to us as a phased project from the very beginning, despite what some other people may think. It was presented to us, or at least the vote at the end was,
For the infrastructure to be.
yeah, and then you
Right.
build the houses, obviously, as you go, but
Right,
the
right.
infrastructure was meant to be put in. Go ahead.
They had phase one and phase two based on how they were going to do the construction.
Correct.
we
Correct.
had concerns, I believe, about the funding of the project and how to avoid getting left with a project that was half complete and that failed.
Yep.
And that's kind of why the whole community's left with a project that's half complete, but it affects the neighbors more than most of the rest of the community. So,
I don't disagree with you.
To piggyback on what you were saying, I had gone over all of the minutes, the written minutes that Terry took for every single hearing that took place for this matter prior to the issuance of the comprehensive permit. There were repeated comments from the public about the huge town investment via the CPC, and financing and how people would be either pre-qualified or not, and funding issues. So there were concerns expressed by various members of the public regarding the financing plan.
Well, so,
Mr. Chairman,
go ahead, Michael.
I think the neighbors would be hugely upset if this were not noticed again, and that the butters were not contacted. I would encourage the board to have all the butters noticed again. I know they would. I know some of them personally. They would be really offended. They would feel as though that this was an end run, even though it's not, even though it's because of the law.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Well, I agree with Michael. There's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, I don't see the reason to not do it. I think, and we do still, I mean, the last discussion we had, there was a lot of, we had a lot of open issues and a lot of questions and a lot of things I think the neighbors would still be concerned about, and things that we recalled that were done one way that seem to be now another way. I think that those are all things that the neighborhood would be very interested in being a part of the discussion about.
If they need to do that, do they have time to notice for the March
Yeah.
hearing?
Yes, be on the March agenda.
Okay.
All right, well, then it's a done deal.
Yeah.
Let's
do that.
just notice
I think, I mean, I personally would feel more
Yeah,
comfortable.
I think that seems to be the consensus. That I don't see the negative.
Well, certainly because we're not holding them up.
Right.
We don't run the risk of getting called on not noticing the last meeting.
Well,
Because we
There
don't
was
have
only
to
discussion
notice.
then.
So we've just decided to notice it.
and then we can rediscuss anything that we need to discuss.
And the January meeting brought up, the January meeting might have been just things that could have been resolved, right? But other things were brought up that deepened the discussion.
Yeah,
Really,
I think it's
so.
totally fair.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that's one thing checked off. We are going to notice the neighbors or the public. And so once again, now having said that, you'll get your, at the public meeting, the CPC can chime in if they'd like, or do you want to, you're here today, do you want to say something? It's not technically an public meeting.
Sure. Thanks.
Just identify yourself for the tape.
Richard Brannigan, Vice Chair of the CPC. Everybody's aware that we funded this pretty significantly over the last couple of years to the tune of over $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. There also is a grant for this year's town meeting of $100,000. That will be up for public discussion at this year's annual town meeting. And the CPC is very supportive of this project. I'm not here to address the merits of the applicant and where that whole issue stands, but I'll just confirm that our committee is very supportive and behind this project, and we are strongly encouraging them to initiate the infrastructure as soon as can be accomplished. We put them on quote-unquote notice that we want to see something happen, and that we're holding a lot of money, or the town is holding a lot of money in reserve for them to start. And we've let them know that. And I know you're aware that they've done a survey. They've got great results on that survey. I think there's 100 or so responses across all 4 income categories, from the low to the medium and the high, of the average median income. So we firmly believe once this thing starts, and what the response has been from the community, that these 36 to 40 lots, 4 being the habitat, is going to sell out rather quickly because the community is behind it, and probably be more behind it today than what it was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. So thank you for your.
Thank you. Go ahead, Linda, or just identify yourself, please.
Linda Williams, Chairman of the Housing Authority. We had a meeting on this yesterday. I got an email earlier that this was not going to come up today because the representatives couldn't come over. Has there been a question, or are you hearing it today?
We're not really hearing it now, but
We did have
I,
a meeting yesterday. The Housing Assistance Corp has been invited to participate in the grant process, which is a substantial amount of money in order to complete the rest of the infrastructure. The water and the sewer, electric are all going in regardless of whether the road is going in the second phase in the rear. I don't know if you have the new map. We saw it yesterday at the Housing Authority meeting where the front section, I think it's 16 units. Habitat would be involved in the first 16. So all that support services are going in regardless of whether the second phase is in and regardless of whether the road goes in. We want to just do it in phases because generally speaking, 40Bs around the state, I haven't found one that hasn't worked this way. They build some of it. What they get from selling the some of it does then subsidize completing the rest of the project. And at times there isn't any added expense for some of those units in the back because they pay so much money off the front. So I believe they're coming over next month to talk about some of the more substantive issues.
right, so we're not gonna go into that right now. I think we're gonna wait until we notice the neighbors. We'll go into the substance. We understand that the CPC is firmly behind this. Frankly, the board is behind it. We just had some concerns that we'll discuss with the applicant next month.
And
So,
also on the CPC, the Housing Authority represented on the CPC, so we're in multiple paths.
okay. So, having said all that, we'll notice the public. We'll discuss everything next month.
13.
On the 13th of March. Okay? So, moving on, 23-13, Bridget Smith. I'm going there. 10C, 30 Acres Lane. I'm sitting, Michael O'Mara, Kiram, Mark Poor, Lisa Botticelli. So, is the applicant here for this? Okay. Just, you need to tell us again, this has been so long that I think you need to summarize again what you'd like to do after identifying yourself for the tape, and we can discuss it.
I'm Bridget Smith, and I'm trying to get an extra bedroom, a permit for an extra bedroom.
Okay. So if everybody remembers, there were extensive, I believe, covenants and restrictions in the homeowners association, et cetera. There were multiple neighbors here at that time who were, I don't know if they were as, well, they certainly didn't seem in favor. I think we probably have letters in our packet to that effect. So, and then this sat dormant for months on end. So, and so what's the pleasure of the board? Anybody remember this one?
I do. We talked about making sure, were we asking whether or not she was able to do this from
Well,
the documents?
Just refresh my memory. There were some issues not only about this board and the rules, but about the homeowners association. And I thought, I could be mistaken, there was either, we requested a meeting, that you attend a meeting with the homeowners association, or we recommended it. Does that sound familiar?
Well, I was told to get some letters from them, and if they give the go-ahead,
Did that happen?
well, I have 2 letters, and our homeowners association is consists of 4 condos. I got 2 letters. I'm the 3rd person. The 4th one asked me to send him an email, and he would send me the letter, and I didn't get it. So I keep sending him email.
concerns about I'm sorry. There were concerns also, I thought, from the neighbors about the parking.
Mm-hmm.
Even not part of her association, but the neighboring, because it's separate, each building has its own association, is that correct? I'm trying to remember.
Yes,
The
as a
site
different
plan.
association.
And there was definitely concerns by somebody in the neighboring structure about how the parking worked. I don't see a site plan in the packet anymore.
It's there
It's just
early.
here that
It's
I can
early?
show you
Yeah.
for the parking.
It's like 144, I think, in mine.
Oh, yeah, here it is. It's just hard when it's been so long, you don't know if the neighbors that were here, are following that.
Yeah, I think, I'm going to be perfectly frank. I think that there'd be some reason that we should consider somehow re-noticing I mean, I know that it's been on the agenda. It's been on the agenda for, I don't know how many months. 7 months. So if I'm a neighbor, I'm just looking at this thinking, yeah, they're not going to hear it again. I frankly thought we were going to terminate our, I guess, vote on this, probably just because of lack of representation and whatnot. So I'm a little uncomfortable moving forward with it.
Yeah, it was first received May 24th, 2013.
So, I mean, what about the notion of withdrawal without prejudice, so somebody, Bridget could reapply
Without having to pay.
without having to
Yeah,
pay a fee?
I would support that.
And then the neighbors would be re-noticed that it actually was happening again, and I'd feel more comfortable.
Well, yeah, particularly because there's a lot of letters in the file against, and I see that Kate Merlini has now written a handwritten letter saying she's in favor of it, which is fine, but there's still, Jamie Ranney, there's a bunch of letters in here that I think,
And they're not a part of our condo association, most of those letters.
Isn't there 2 associations? One that encompasses everything, and then one that just encompasses those
Building.
4 units, that building.
right. But there were people from, I think, the neighboring building that had issues with parking.
Yes, oh yeah. And I'm just, when you look at the planning board decision on this back in, when it was approved,
I have letters from the people at issue with it.
That may be the case, but I don't feel comfortable, but because again, this is sat dormant. I thought it was frankly going away, but and if I'm a neighbor, I might think the same way. So you have, I think what Michael O'Mara was talking about, I mean, I think you need clear documentation from the homeowners association or the condo associations as legal entities that they are behind this and for it, and then we could entertain the notion. I mean, without that, I don't think we would react very favorably. But
I agree, it's kind of putting the cart before the horse.
And I think that's what we asked for the last
we
time.
did ask for it 7 or 8 months ago and haven't gotten it, and just gotten one handwritten note.
I have another one here from Kate. I have Kate Marion. She's the president of our association. I think that's the one you have there. And I have Mr. Frank Unton here.
But see, she wrote this as Kate Merlini, not as a homeowner, not the president of the association. I think what we're saying is we want something that comes from the association.
She's the president from our, for Harvard, Tennessee.
Well, I still think probably re-notifying the abutters makes sense. And if you withdraw without prejudice and can re-notice everybody, you can be back on for March. Correct?
it's not going to cost you anything.
It won't cost you any money, other than the mailing. Or do you guys do the mailing?
Go ahead, Leslie.
I guess 2 comments. One, if the intent is to not discuss this anymore until Ms. Smith can come forward with some documentation, and withdrawing without prejudice and then waiving the fee makes sense, but it may be a while. But if she thinks she's going to come back in March, withdrawing, basically resubmitting generates a lot of extra paperwork, or we can simply just renotice it and say that we're re-advertising.
Oh, yeah, so if you, maybe we can just
And
re-advertise.
keep the current application?
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, but then how does that differentiate from what we've been, oh, you would actually renotice, i.e. send mailings to the abutters?
But, well, we shouldn't
Okay.
have to fill out a new application.
Right, but you have
That's
not
fine.
been doing that month over month?
No.
No, right, I just want to be clear about that.
I just have a
Susan?
question. Wasn't I thought that the intent was that, not just this application, but that we had applications that were sort of lingering and continuing the exact same discussion without new information. So it's great to renotice the neighbors, but if they come and voice the same concerns in a month, is there going to be these, what we've talked about for months now, these letters of support from the different tiers of homeowners association, which is, I think, from listening to the hearings, it sounds like there are 3 different levels: the buildings, and then the neighborhood, which 1030 Acres Lane Association.
Right.
So I think Leslie's first suggestion, perhaps, is withdrawing, because who knows when the homeowners associations meet, and allowing the applicant to get those letters and then come back might make more sense for her to be able to move forward instead of, getting all the neighbors back in here, having the same discussion, and then
Yeah,
still not being able to make a decision because we don't have the official.
I would recommend that, and maybe we can put this off for 2 months under the existing application, but I would like to see it the next time we hear this and the neighbors have been noticed, that there's some information from a letter from both condo associations.
And it has to be beyond, I think, it has to be more official than Kate Merle's
Yes.
letter. It needs to be an official letter from the associations.
From Kate.
From the
Whomever.
association, whoever.
Well, she is the president, and the other one is Mr. Ramos, I think, for the old 30 acres. And he told me he's not giving me because I don't come to any of the meetings. So I think it's very personal on his side. So I'm not going to be able to get one from him.
okay, fair enough. So barring any information, we're not going to, the applicant's basically saying we just can't get the information we'd like. Do we want to vote on this? Or do we want to put it over in the hopes that,
Well, I think you need to explain the ramifications of that to the applicant.
well, the ramifications are, I don't, if it's a no vote, you can't, you can't obviously,
I could go back to him again and talk to him, but he sent me an email. I did send him an email and ask him for a letter, and that's what he told me. So, and it was a good while now, so I can go back to him and talk to him in person if I can get a hold of him. But I'll try.
okay.
I mean, how do we vote on something that I guess, whether or not we vote on it doesn't mean that her association allows it.
Well, let's just be clear, even if Ms. Smith gets approval from, a letter saying, oh, well, we don't mind, that doesn't necessarily mean we have to vote yes.
No, I know that.
Okay.
I know that. Because I think there are other issues,
Right.
which is why letting the abutters know in the next building, I think, is important because of the parking issues. And that's why I'm not so sure these letters like from Kate, she should be speaking for the entire, her association, whoever she's representing, and I don't get the sense that she is, the way that letter's written. It's written as a personal, as a homeowner, I support this application, not as the president of the association, representing that the whole association has discussed it and we support it. So, I mean, I don't know which is the best way to do it from Leslie's perspective. I'm completely defer to her on that.
Well, I mean, I guess we can simply continue but renotice everybody, but I see Susan's point. If we're just going to be discussing the same thing again without the backup material from these various groups saying at least they don't mind, there's no point. And so, but I'm willing to give the applicant one more crack at getting that information. But I think barring getting those sign-offs and whatnot, I think you have a tough road ahead of you in terms of getting an affirmative vote. So I think you need to try to do that. But it can't be another 7 months. It's going to be soon.
Right, I mean, maybe we give her, as Michael said, a couple months and put it on the agenda for April so that she has 2 months to do the work as opposed to. Do you think you'll be able to get a response or get the paperwork that we're looking for by March, if Mr. Ramos gives it to you?
So a letter from Mr. Ramos and from Kate.
From any and all entities that have a say in your building, which, again, I think Mr. O'Mara and Lisa have said, you have the building association, then I think you have the property condo association, and then you have the homeowners association. So what you're asking to do is in some ways burdening the whole area. So at least we would like to think you have the support of the whole area. And if you don't, you don't. That's fine. You could come in here next month and say, no, they do not support what I'm doing.
So
And then we would vote.
you're saying from door to door then, like everybody in that neighborhood?
No. There's an association, yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe can she work with staff to work out the details of how, like, it seems like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of
Yeah.
what a condo association is and what a neighborhood association is, so maybe in the interest of time, we could write out later with staff, like, what exactly, conversation there.
Yeah,
what exactly-
I agree. I don't.
Are you, just to make sure we're all on the same plane, I would expect that what we're looking for is a letter saying that a majority of these people in the associations approve of this application.
Yes. Written from the
Yes.
president of that
A
association.
majority.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Mr. Angelostro sitting here. Leslie, I think this was multifamily overlay district at the time. Are the bedrooms limited?
Yes.
The
My
bedrooms are
recollection.
limited by the special permit.
But
So-
there's a maximum number of bedrooms that can be,
There was a maximum number of bedrooms, but now it's basically a pre-existing non-conforming use because the special permit in a way doesn't apply because the district is now gone. But the main issue here is that the extra bedroom adds an extra parking space.
well, I understand that, but at the time the special permit was issued, it was a maximum of
Yes.
8 bedrooms,
2 per unit.
2 per unit. So there's 8 bedrooms. So does that special permit just not apply anymore? That part of the zoning district was done away with? You have 47 bedrooms on that, in those units now?
That's a bit of a tricky question, but I believe that the bedroom issue has essentially gone away and it's now regulated by the parking requirement.
Zoning changes are not always good.
Yeah, so let me be clear. You need to make it clear to us, I think, if you could, if not for this meeting, the next meeting. The bed today, if you were building these buildings, you could have not 47 bedrooms, but maybe a greater number of bedrooms, as long as you could delineate parking spaces.
There's no more, the zoning area's gone away.
You couldn't build that today because the overlay district that allowed those individual, that allowed 4 dwelling units on a lot
Right.
doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, right.
The multifamily overlay district was essentially replaced with what we now have as an apartment allowance in certain districts, not in RC2 because that's been phased out. But the multifamily overlay district had a lot of restrictions with it. It had a cap on bedrooms, it had a cap on peak seasonal occupancy or year-round seasonal occupancy. The bedrooms had to be distributed among dwelling units based on lot size, and it's basically been replaced with an apartment use that's allowed by right, and the number of bedrooms are controlled by the party.
Okay. Okay, I think I get it. So there's a zoning question, and then there's, as the board, we're acting as overseers of the homeowners and condo. We'd like to see them behind
I
us.
think that's where we've got to start.
Yeah, I agree. So, can you work with the applicant to clearly, or make it clear what we would like, I guess, what I'm trying to mumble. So, having said that, I think what we would like to do is continue this to, is another 1 month adequate? Or would you
I
like
would
2
recommend
months?
2 months.
2 months. To April, what's the date, 14th? 12th?
Hold on, it's on this agenda, isn't it? I thought I saw one.
Oh, yeah. 10.
April 10th.
So, but that's up to you. You're the applicant. What would you like to do? 2 months is fine. Okay, so, yeah, and we would like you to renotice the neighbors. So is that a motion by someone?
Sure, I'll make that motion.
All right, to continue to
Do
April
we
10th.
need to get that signed?
Is there, are we against any sort of deadlines and whatnot?
We can get an extension on that, we've already done multiple times, so just do it now.
Okay, yeah.
We follow the town clerk.
By,
That's what we
all right, by the 28th of February.
Right, we don't need to sign this anymore.
No. Okay?
Okay.
So that motion's been made. Is there a second? Michael seconds it. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I should have asked, was there anybody else in the audience who wanted to talk about this? No. Thank you. Okay. 40-13, Todd and Kathleen Manning, 4A Street.
Continue.
Let's continue, are you looking for?
Withdrawn without prejudice?
No, I think it's being withdrawn.
Withdrawn.
Right.
Do we have to vote on that?
I believe so.
Oh, sorry.
Don't we?
Yes.
So it's E.T., MJO, Michael Angelostro, Mark Bohr, Greg Thayer. I'm Greg. Jeff,
What is this?
a.k.a. Greg. You don't even have to move. So that is the sitting board. The applicant would like to withdraw without prejudice. I believe this was the garage / change to living space out in Nantucket that was too close to the lot line, if you remember. So they want to withdraw without prejudice. Is there anybody in the audience who wants to talk about that one? No. Is there any discussion on the board that is sitting on this? No. So can I get a motion?
Motion.
Motion to withdraw without prejudice. Mark Poor, is there a second?
Second.
Michael Angelostro, all those any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That was unanimous. Okay. Okay, we don't have to do anything with 47-13. So I guess the next one is 64-13. Hold on one second.
I don't think I sat on that.
Back to 40. No, these are old. Back to 47-13. Why does it say action deadline January 31?
It's been changed, you have an extension. He's expecting an extension to May 2nd.
This does sort of come under the purview of this. I know there were a lot of quorum issues, and is that the problem today? Were they planning to be here today and the weather precluded them?
Weather precluded his presence, and Mr. Dragon will be all filing in March. That's the request for continuance to April.
I will not be here in April, I will not be here in March or April. I sat on this.
Okay. Anyway, moving on. 64-13, William F. Hunter is trustee of the 1908 Realty Trust, 47 Monomoy Road, for the applicant. This never was opened.
Oh,
So, who's sitting? The five of us?
you want to sit? Come on.
Okay.
Let's get that blood pumping.
Mr. Hyberton represents the neighbor.
Yes.
Who's away, so I represented him and I would continue. So I do not wish to go forward. We're trying to find a way to resolve our differences. So I would like to continue to April with the understanding that if I'm not ready to go forward in April.
Are you representing the applicant?
I am representing.
So William Hunter is not the,
Yes, he's the trustee.
oh, he's the trustee that you're representing. Okay, I got it.
Okay, so we're not opening this, so it doesn't matter who's sitting here, but,
But I do have the conceptual question of how do you resolve the difference of the
Yeah.
building being too tall?
okay.
It's either too tall or it's not too tall.
Oh, we don't. If we resolve something between ourselves and then we come here and ask for the relief, we have to get the relief. It's just a question of whether or not I can resolve his issues before I come get before you.
To request the relief. So then he can help support it, whether or not you'll get it or not.
He
It's
can
still-
have it when he needs.
Is there a condo association?
There is no association involved here.
Please have the document. Okay, anyway, so you are simply asking to continue it
Until April 10th.
Until
No,
March.
March 13th,
No, I'd like to go to April, whatever your April date is.
April 10th.
I can't swear I'll be here, but
Yeah.
hopefully I will be. Okay, so we're not opening it, but do we need to vote on that kind of thing?
And I'll sign the extension and get it to.
Okay. Do we vote on that? I've only been here 15 years. Do we vote on these things? Leslie? Do we vote on a continuance like that?
Yes.
All right. So,
I'll make that motion.
all right, Lisa makes a motion. Who seconds it? Michael. All those in, any further discussion? Anybody out in the audience? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay.
I'm not on this.
6913, they continue. That was Wood Hollow. Yeah.
We let this thing
Here.
slip by.
I think this is the next one.
I was thinking about this.
That's-
I wasn't paying attention.
That's okay.
This is easy.
Go ahead.
You had asked for the language.
I did.
The warrant article that will address this issue in 6913.
Right.
And I'm working on a motion for the planning board. So as soon as I have that drafted, I will send that to all of you so that you have that.
Okay.
Because the planning board motion is going to be a little bit different from what's printed in the warrant.
Okay, it just seems like a little bit of a slippery slope to me, but, so I'd love to see it. 67-13, Eric and Melanie Silverman, 5 Heller Way. Oh, this is old also. I don't remember it. Oh, I do remember it. Okay. Edward Toole, Michael O'Mara, Kiram Kasetek, Michael Angelastro, and Greg Thayer. So, is there anybody here for this one?
I'm here if it's necessary, but
I'm happy to present the decision.
Okay, rock and roll.
Okay, this was a decision that was issued with one clerical error that was very easy to fix. It did not require renoticing. We dealt with that prior to recording. It had to do with the number, file number. And then, thinking that everything was hunky-dory, the applicant's agent put the decision, which had run through its appeal period, on record at the registry of deeds, subsequently realizing that there was an error in the inclusion of a condition that was not meant to be included, which is a seasonal construction restriction. A condition which is rarely, if ever, applied to this particular zoning district. It was complete clerical error, but because there's a question that's a little bit murky between the substantive / technical modification, it was the view of staff and the applicant's agent agreed that this should be a decision that would be not only refiled with the town clerk, rerun through the appeal period, resent to the abutters, with a memo stating that this is a clerical error. And then we report it with the registry of deeds.
And that was done.
It will be done.
Okay.
You need to hear this and approve.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, everybody got that? Yeah. It was just that one little error. So, is there anybody out in the audience want to discuss this? Is there any further board discussion, or are we
I'm
good?
not sitting, right?
I have no idea.
It's the old
No,
board.
yeah, you're not sitting. So, can I get a motion to strike that condition? Make that motion. Okay, Michael makes the motion, Kiram seconds it. Any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Okay, the next two are continued. So, we're down to 7-14, Mark P. Williams and Tammy Lynn Williams as owners, Brian Diggle as applicant, contract purchaser, 86.5 Somerset Road, sitting, myself, Lisa Botticelli, Susan McCarthy, Mark Poor, Jeff Thayer. So Susan, you're
Susan.
sitting. I frankly do not remember why we continued. Okay, is there anybody, oh, yes, there is, somebody here to speak about this.
For the record, Richard Glidden, on behalf of the Williamses, who are the owners of the property, this case was presented by Michael Wilson, who represents the contract purchaser, and it was continued just to get a little clarification, I think it's my understanding. What the contract purchaser wants to have a landscape contractor's business, so we're looking for 139.7 special permit, so he can have a landscape contractor's business with interior storage and warehousing related to his landscape business. We're looking for, pursuant to 139.18 and 139.20, parking loading zone aisle width. We've got 2 parking spaces and a loading zone on the lot, but we need relief from the aisle width. And there's also a common access driveway which exists. There's an easement on record and it's on the ground, and but we need that pursuant to 139.20.1. And the whole property, this is a subdivision of a whole property which already has a permit, and the board wanted to be assured of what conditions were going to be carried forward. So the applicant and the owner are both representing that there be no parking in the roadway layout related to the businesses. Applicant will maintain the existing natural vegetative screening along the lot line. I think there's pictures of that in your packet. There'll be no residential use within the structure being purchased. Any hazardous materials will be disposed of according to state and local laws. There'll be no outside storage of goods and materials associated with the landscape business without further relief from this board. No servicing of equipment or vehicles shall take place on the property other than those pieces of equipment associated with the applicant's own business. Any modification to the commercial uses will require further relief. They'll maintain the common driveway. Outside lighting will meet the code requirements for downlighting. And there's an Exhibit A plan which Site Design did, which parking and screening will be taken care of as shown on that plan. I think you all know that this, in essence, is really no change. Mr. McGowan, Sconser Garden, leased this business for the last, I don't know how long, 10 or 12 years, and now it's just being subdivided and sold to for the same use, but since we're creating a new lot, we have to get this special permit. Seems to be a reasonable proposal in accordance with the zoning.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask you a question. Sorry, I gotta find it though. Okay. So we have a new site plan? There was some question about the site plan not necessarily showing the vegetation and
It's
whatnot?
right here. Now we can show it.
What page is that?
That's the second page. It's right behind the conditions of this.
And this is the
Sorry, 264.
common driveway. Apparently, this is how he gets here. Mr. Williams reserved rights to use it just so he can repair the rear of this building.
Oh, I
He
see.
needs to, for all intents and purposes, this driveway will services this lot.
Well, he needs it to be shared also so there'd be adequate width, or is there adequate width
There is
there?
adequate, but that's, they made it. It's 5 foot setbacks with 10-foot driveways.
No, but I'm saying, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, but it's,
okay, there were neighbors here objecting. Or they were not
weren't
No, they were
really
concerned about
objecting.
screening
They were
more than
concerned,
anything
I
else.
should say.
There's a letter from one guy who was concerned about intensification of the commercial use, but he hasn't shown up. But it's no change, really.
in essence, it's
That's-
a different entity.
Different tenant.
I don't think,
Different tenant, but same
I would,
use.
I would think this tenant is probably less intensive than Mr. McGowan, a lot of McGowan.
Mr. McGowan,
Personality aside.
currently, there's a cut through in the hedge or existing vegetative buffer, is there not? So he can get there, but that will be cut.
That would be
That's gonna
covered,
be
it's
closed
closed in
out.
this new plan.
Do you know anything about that, Mr. Williams? Is there an existing cut in the hedge in Marty?
From Marty's property into,
Well, that was Mark Williams, the owner. Marty had removed the second fence and hedge so that he could access from his property. My understanding that he's going to reconstruct that.
It will, he could certainly make it a requirement.
yeah, it'll be a requirement that he has to do that.
Any construction screened
Right.
completely, absolutely.
Okay, and then further, our notes say something about just being crystal clear on what is being asked for, and Mr. Glidden, in his inimitable manner, was fairly clear, so. We okay with it? Is there further discussion?
I'm okay with it.
Is there anybody else in the audience want to talk about this? Yeah, it doesn't seem like anything is changing, and the applicant is attesting the fact that they will not park in the road
Right.
and will not intensify things, so.
So we
I
would
think
just
that-
motion with these conditions that are listed on page 1?
Yeah. Where's page one?
Page 263.
This is good, but it's not great when you need to find
I
something.
know you can't flip back and forth.
Yeah,
You
As
can do,
easily.
you know, on the bottom, you can sometimes
Yeah,
do
you
it,
can
right?
kind of see.
yeah, you can on the
I have
bottom.
a yellow pad and pencil with that.
I might have to go back to that.
How do you
Okay.
multi-page?
Karen showed me some libraries.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Multi-page.
Yes, that makes it so much better.
What do you do?
You can have multiple setting on your screen with showing up to.
But you have to be an iPhone.
Yeah, but you have to be young to be able to read that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. All right, anyway, Mr. Glidden's in a hurry to get back to his office, so is there any further discussion, or the conditions seem to be fairly well written out, so you good with it?
I'll make a motion to.
Mark?
I'm good.
Okay, go
I'll
ahead,
make a
Lisa.
motion to approve the relief as requested based on the conditions listed in the file. But I don't need to read them all, do I?
No. No, in the exhibit showing that the vegetative buffer
Right.
will go around.
Exhibit A, which is the site plan attached to those conditions.
Okay, so is there a second? Jeff Beck seconds it. Any further discussion? No. All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Okay, now we're getting to some new business. 3-14, Joseph and Marcia Aguirre, 68 Fairgrounds Road. Who's sitting on this?
I can take a
You
break.
want to sit?
You want to sit, Michael?
You want me to sit for coffee?
Michael, you want to sit?
Okay. Is anybody here for this application? Oh, okay. Just, if you don't mind, just come down to a mic, identify yourself for the tape, and tell us what you want to do. Is that okay? You don't have to come down to the mic. We can hear you. You're fine, I didn't notice the question. So, just tell us what you'd like to do.
Well, basically, what we were looking for is some options other than to just sell our entire property and move off the island. We were looking for the possibility if we could sell part of our property and then maintain part of it for our permanent home here and utilize whatever we gain from the sale of that property to buy off island or to simply amortize whatever money we have across all of our financials. So that's basically it.
But from a zoning standpoint, the issue is you have, I'm going to summarize, and if I'm wrong, just tell me I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to be capable of telling you.
You could probably just say you're wrong, I'd be right. But it's the only relief requested is from the regularity factor. The land area is big enough, and if I'm looking at this correctly, the house could be moved, and then you could meet the regularity factor. Do you think, or not? No?
No, well, it'd have to create two longer lots, right?
No.
I mean, I guess they would be more regular in shape, but they would probably be less logical.
Right to view.
Lady Bird
Because Dawn made the motion.
David wanted to view it, to check the, the topo and all that.
Planning board issue too?
And you got it with you?
Yeah.
All right, because we have a quorum on Lady Bird.
Wall Street is first, I think.
I don't know about your quorum. We have quorum, this is all you're gonna get.
Yeah, this is
All
my
right.
board.
Hold on one second, just hold on. One conversation at a time, please.
Chairman?
The only ones we can hear today are Lady Bird, 8 Middle Valley.
Under the notes here, it says, see
Gray Woods,
occupancy
One
restriction,
Brooks
deed
Farm.
book 805, page
Lissy,
260.
2
What is that
Flintlock.
referring to when you first built the
Gallietto,
house?
37 Ridge Lane.
Honestly, I can't answer that question.
Ridden, 41 Somerset on the back. Mary Burke, 16 Marble Way, that's it.
And Wall Street.
Yes, I'm not talking about Wall Street right now, because we've been waiting on Wall Street. I'm talking about the new ones. So everybody else has got to go. We're going to put them at the beginning of Tuesday's meeting, because John didn't come, Diane can't come, Jason's working, and David's off island, so this is it.
Well, I'm not
Nathan's
sure
yours.
my idea
Can't
worked
hear
any.
yours either.
That was true.
Oh, Galliotto, we can.
So,
So the only people we need in the
Michael,
room are
I mean,
Botticelli
you
and
could certainly
Cole,
request-
DPC,
I'm
NAG,
guessing it's when they built the house, they signed the
McMullen.
covenant way back. When did you build the house?
Thornwell, and Emeritus. We can't hear anything else.
Why would they have had to sign the covenant?
Okay, applicant is asking to move Gray Woods to
2002?
Tuesday.
No.
To Tuesday, all right. So Gray Woods is going to Tuesday. All right, so now we're only down to Lady Bird, Lissy, Gallietto, Ridden, and Burke. So let's go.
All right. Can you get into the internet from here?
I'm looking at it right
Yep, we're going to call the
I don't
meeting
need
to
your
order
packet anymore, because
at
mine,
1:16.
sorry.
I mean, see, I-
Present are Abby Camp, Linda Williams, and Dawn Hill Holgate.
What is it?
This is a
805,
continuation of Tuesday,
260.
February 11th meeting. This is February 13th, 2014. We have an audio tape and, are we videotaping? And a videotape
There's the,
of the
while
meeting.
we're
If
looking
anybody else
that
would like
up,
to take
there
the
is
meeting, please let me
the,
know.
just plain the issue of.
Somebody want to
if
approve
you
the agenda?
can't Subdivide, you can't,
Dawn's made
it's
a
a
motion to approve
variance.
the agenda. All those in favor? Dawn?
I don't know.
So now we
I
have
don't
no
know.
public comment, I would assume. No consents,
Be
and we're going to go right to old
intelligent
business.
about it.
62
I think basically, you can't have, if you have enough land mass in a pork shop that meets the regularity factor, then I think you're
Nope,
okay.
it's too Walsh.
You need everything in the pork chop to meet it, to meet the land mass, then, the regularity factor.
Yes, I'm in the middle of
It
it.
doesn't work. It does,
Create a
I mean,
problem.
you're exactly right in that. And it was done to avoid what
Okay,
you're
thanks.
seeing on the plan right now. I mean, I wasn't here last month, but did you have a similar thing on Bartlett Road where the choice was a regular lot and something And
I assume this is not,
The-
this is who's sitting.
Yeah, this is it.
obviously, the
This is
consensus
my
was no variance.
It was, they got released, but they could do the three, if we're talking about the same one, they could do it as a matter of right. It was simply the shape, and at the end of the day, we thought Plan B, I'm going to say, was better for a number of reasons than
So,
Plan A, but
big one, obviously, is
there was a shared
the,
access issue.
porch that was on the gable that
But
faces
they,
north.
as a matter of right, could
We
have
have
gotten the
now
3 lots.
Well, they did get the
to
3
side
lots,
so
they
that
did
they
ask
don't
for a
have that
variance,
projecting closer to Wall Street.
and the variance
You all
was
see
denied.
that?
Okay,
There
I
were,
don't
there
know.
were, forgetting about the big lot that ended up in the back, but there were 2 conforming 5,000 square
Right,
foot lots.
right.
And then they said, if we,
Yeah, it's spaced.
Yeah, I think they made a note on
either we
there
can,
just saying it was going to be
by
wider.
easement, grant these smaller lots some parking, or
The skirt?
create 2 lots that I don't know what they ended up being, 8,000 square
It's going to
feet.
be white.
Says being
But we need a variance for that because the lot narrowed down the regularity factor. And the board said,
Oh,
no variance.
the
So-
roof shingles?
Yeah, it's a tough road here.
Is that what it says
The
on
variance
Does
situation.
it say?
It just says the
No,
skirt,
no,
it says the skirt is natural to weather, the rest of it I assume is white like the house.
Is there a notation on the application
I
for
mean,
the color of the
arguably,
actual
there
roof?
are
I don't think
a lot of lots out there if you start giving up the regularity factor. And I don't think that we're the proper venue to get that changed. And if you want to
So you need to go.
submit a town meeting warrant
Well, I don't
or
think there's
next
actually a
year for
blank on
getting
the
rid of the
application.
regularity factor, you probably have some friends, but I don't think
Yeah, because I think that
we
obviously you
are-
can just note on there that.
should start doing this on any
So
basis.
the only other thing that my
Well,
comment
Abby,
was.
that just, sorry, Abby, that note says roof walk
Because it is one of
to be natural.
one
I
of the
think that
controls
Dawn is
We're
for
talking
zoning.
whole-
talking about the whole,
It's a wood roof, it should be all.
yeah.
My only question, Ray, is, and this has been from the beginning, is that you go lot line to lot line, and this piece was still troubling you, and you were gonna try to pull that piece on the right off or back.
Well, the issue came in, it's this, the idea of that porch, the second floor deck. That was on the front, and we moved it to the side, and that was acceptable to the owner. But we just need to have the depth there to be able to have that porch.
Well, I don't mean this side, I mean this side, it's right on, hard on the side.
Oh, well,
Remember
the
you
issue,
and I talked about that?
yeah,
and
the
that's
issue
going away?
there was the gable beyond, and that's a
It has to
bedroom
do
that
with
I
the,
don't think we can get any.
the shape of the lot.
We took room out of the middle of the
bylaw
gable,
says
but
your
that was not
regularity
for
factor
this
has to be
hearing, this was for the
0.55.
previous hearing.
And yours
And
is
you're correct,
.3.
it's still good. I think what happened, Linda, is we took room out, and then it came back in when we moved the porch to the side.
A lot that's
That's what
buildable.
happened.
And the bylaw was passed so
Does
that
that make
lots
sense?
such as this,
So Don said he was ready to make a motion provided the.
even though you have enough land area and you have enough frontage,
Okay, Don's made a motion to approve the
They-
roof block being entirely.
it doesn't mean that you can
All
necessarily
those in
divide.
favor?
You could,
Thank you.
that's what you did, if you wanted to move your house,
Yeah,
you
then
could
you
put
just
it
go
down the
right
middle.
There's one,
And then you would be able to divide it.
we can't, we don't have a quorum.
It's just to divide it this way with a hard variance, it's hard. I agree with that, it's
Joe.
sort of a hard,
Doug just
questions we
moved
put
Ray
on this
Woods
board
to
because it would
Tuesday.
open the door for a lot of people to do this kind of subdivision, which is clearly the irregularity factor.
Because it's going off to Tuesday, and if you've got changes for anyone,
Although, being the devil's advocate, you could make the argument that if the house weren't there, you.
Tuesday, yep. All that stuff's going to the beginning of the
Could do
meeting,
it.
but if you got something to bring in, bring it with you.
Right. The regularity factor.
Yes.
Good. How you doing, Pepper?
Right, so it's possible, so it is, so it's, right, so
I'm
it's
gonna have to
possible.
go, I'm gonna have to
It would be
give
possible
him
to
things,
do it.
because he needs to move it all over, and it has to be filed today, because Monday's a holiday.
Yes.
And the covenant, or the, whatever.
With that new open meeting law
The
stuff.
accessory apartment. that would
Saturdays
be
used to
the-
count, or Sundays used to not count, or
All year round.
holidays used to count. How did it get to me? Okay, next one is Lady Bird.
Did you discuss this applicant, you know, what you're doing here? Obviously, you discussed it with the surveyor. Did you discuss it with?
Oh, what are we doing the last one?
Get a
Ready
background
on
on it.
this one? Okay, go.
Planning board?
Okay. I don't think that these drawings have been revised. In fact, I'm certain of that. These drawings have not been revised since the last time this was heard. The issue last time was David wanted
Before you
to...
start, do you want to wait for your board till Tuesday?
I'm fine moving forward, because I feel like we were close.
Right.
And,
What were the previous concerns?
Well, I
agree.
agree, but I don't think that's really our concern.
That was last Thursday, right?
You could do
Right, what were
this
the
house
concerns?
there, correct? Is that correct? Yes.
Well,
yeah, it was a view because David was a little bit concerned about the topography. And basically, what we were saying to David, and I think he just wanted to verify in the field, was that this building is going basically exactly where the current building is. And it's not that much higher. We have the low eaves and all that sort of thing. And if memory serves me, David said he was not concerned about the height of the building per se. He was just concerned about how the grades would be handled around the building.
Plateauing.
And plateauing, exactly. And so, the retainage and all that sort of thing, which shows on the plan, is not necessary to the success of this. Most of the retainage that you see is there because we're trying to do, which you haven't got to see, one of these arrangements where you pull into the garage at a subgrade level, and it would be underneath of the pool cabana, which is a grade. So the retainage around the front of the house, which faces back, that you'll never see, is where you see a lot of the retainage. Does it make sense?
Is this the garage
That's
here then?
the garage is not in the house, Abby. It's see that little square.
I'm a little.
Oh, we looked at the garage
This,
separately.
she says future garage, so we want to get in low to do that.
So this goes down.
Yeah, this sort of stays low, and then that's why this goes higher, and then you step up to the house. In fact, the house right now, the existing
Well,
house, has that same
It's
range.
easy for me to spend somebody else's money. I do it all the time as a real estate
All right,
broker.
so what are we doing here?
But
I want to just make a couple more small points.
even
One, the
with a
drawings show
negative vote on this,
a
whatever investment
stair
you might
on the outside.
make,
That's
you make
gone.
it, the next person makes it.
Yeah.
In moving this house,
And the balcony above or something.
you're looking at a
All this
4
stuff
to
is still
6
showing
times
up on the
return
plan,
on
that's the
that
problem.
investment.
No, but we discussed all this stuff.
Yeah, we talked about the stairs.
As I said, it's easy for me to
So
spend other
motion to
people's money.
hold for revisions
But,
for
I'm frankly not comfortable with this.
last discussion. We need to, this came, did this come up last Thursday? This was on last Thursday? Was this on last Thursday?
Yes, it came from Thursday.
Which was the meeting that needs to be reaffirmed. Okay.
What is he, what is
Or
he
move the
revising?
building. I think what Mr. Hazelowski
Abby,
suggested
let me just
is if
say,
you move the building.
we're actually revising some things internally.
As a
to
matter
make the
of
house
right.
smaller.
Without coming
So
out.
the thing, the sort of agenda items that you guys had were the exterior stair. Dawn wasn't liking the
We
new
knew
one.
what happened to it, we could redo it.
So why is it
Yeah.
on, well, I'm trying to figure out why it's on the old business regular agenda and it's also on.
No, because I'm not sure how you move the entire basement with the house.
Right, I got
You'd be
that.
moving the house
But it came
on
from
a new
Thursday,
foundation.
and all the Thursdays
Unless
are
Mr.
under the reaffirmation. How did
Harris-
they end up on the
Unless
regular
there's a new
business?
way to do it.
But it's on both.
I think
I
it's
didn't know
because
they
it
were
went
two
for
separate things.
Oh, yeah.
a special.
I would think
Yeah.
so. Will you do me a favor and identify yourself for
I
the
don't know,
tape?
I just know it was on the reaffirmation, so.
Regardless.
It's coming back up on Tuesday.
Motion to hold for
Sorry.
revisions.
Okay. I'm feeling that there is not support
Well,
of
it
No, it can't be
No,
approved.
he's making changes
this
to it.
present
Yeah.
application.
And that
You
exterior
need
stairs.
four positive votes.
So it doesn't, since we have a quorum for it, it doesn't need to be reaffirmed on Tuesday, so I'm taking it off the
So-
reaffirmation list.
Your choices are
So
to
we're fine
either
here now,
withdraw
stays
without
on, being
prejudice,
up for revision
So when
law.
does it come
for
back
whatever
from March
reason,
4th?
or we take a vote, and if it's a negative vote, you can't come back for any reason, not that you probably would want to, for what, 2
Yeah,
years?
that's why I didn't want you to go.
But I will be here that Thursday.
Oh, the following Thursday?
March 6th.
March 6th.
Okay.
I can imagine they wouldn't have done the best.
Okay.
All right.
No, that's
I can't
good.
either,
We'll
but
know
I
that, we'll
wanted
know
to
that
ask
this
the
has to go to
question,
March
but-
6th.
Okay.
Well, maybe that's the withdrawal without prejudice, so that they could.
No, the view
No, we did-
theoretically already took place.
Just revision.
Yeah, no, it's just revisions now, because we have. the-
Yeah, or you can continue it if you want to think about it and come back with another argument, or...
Okay, so all in favor of Don's
you know,
motion to
look
hold for
into
revisions?
moving, and maybe,
Okay.
even with moving and the setbacks, it still doesn't work, but maybe it's
Peter
a heck of
Lissy?
a lot closer, or I don't know. I'm not saying that moving is a done deal. I mean, removing the house, you can split it in two, right down the middle. And again, I'm not advocating any particular plan.
What's the,
So, is there anybody in the audience who want to talk about this?
no, no. Who's here for Monroe?
Do
We
you
don't have a
have any
quorum,
further thoughts in terms of how you'd like to proceed?
so it's going to go to beginning of Tuesday? Yep.
Without, or
Gary,
as I
we
said,
can
you
hear
can
yours.
continue. You think there's any?
One of yours.
I can't imagine Paul doing something
All right,
else.
so Lucy is, Lucy,
Yeah.
so representing?
No.
Steve Thoreau, Nantucket Architecture Group.
Just to double check.
There might be some ideas.
Point elevation and each round roof on the door,
Ed
that
said
form
some,
of west
what would
elevation
tell me the
of
reason
the
for the variance
change
should be
rear deck
granted.
very low, very close to rear deck height.
I mean,
I'm not feeling it, but. Did you have something to say, Nancy? No. So, again, it's totally up to you. So the continuance or withdrawal, we are,
We're open to hearing you come back if you have something else, right? I think
Yeah.
that's the sense that we're getting. I'm getting.
I'm not,
Withdrawal without prejudice.
you can come back.
You'd have to refile and pay the fee again and all that. So if you continue, it gives you the opportunity to avoid that process, go talk to different professionals, see if there's some other option out there, a different argument that, something we haven't thought of and you haven't thought of that somebody else might think of. And,
it's just buying you a little bit of time to think about
Yeah.
your options.
Well, you can continue it to the next regularly scheduled meeting, which is
attached
March
to the beginning on
13th,
the
but
front
if you
page.
are not prepared, you
I
would
went
just
down
have,
to Flint Lock and took about 15 photographs
you
from
don't
the
like to
road.
continue things ad infinitum, although.
I didn't have to get out of my car to find 15 homes
you
that
more
had a gable
time.
facing the street.
It's totally up to you at that point.
I don't care.
But I made all the changes you asked for, pretty much 98% of the changes you requested we made. Dramatically shrank the decks, took off the entrance portico.
Yeah, you would not,
Continue it again.
you would not be
Dramatically reduced
under
the amount
any
of square
sort
foot
of
deck.
gun. You would just call the staff and say, we're not prepared, can you please continue it to the April
I only
meeting?
have one issue, the room.
If you want additional time, yeah, either way.
Not lower,
You're not under any constraint.
Look
I
at it.
thought it would just break up the second floor
It
mass.
does, but it's
Yeah.
up too high. It's
What do you
like in
think,
the middle
like
of the
8
wall.
inches?
It needs to
All
come
right, so
down.
we'll continue to the March
Probably
13th meeting, and then if
Okay.
for some reason you need more time, you just
It looks like it's
Go
related
ahead.
to the door. It's
Is
in the
this
middle of the
store
wall.
existing?
go that
No,
route.
it's a new
And if you find that there are no,
It's a weird back door.
the other option is if you find through conversations that there aren't any
Basically, yeah, because it's
viable
going into the
options,
garage,
Any glass
you don't
on it.
and it's
feel
going to take a
that
beam
you
well
want
in and out of the garage with bikes and things, so
also
that's all.
All right, so Dawn, you want to make a motion to
Motion to
approve?
approve with the roof over the
Okay,
garage door
so-
lowered 8 inches.
The applicant has asked us to continue to the March
Now, does that
13th
go
meeting.
back to staff or?
Staff.
To staff, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay, that was unanimous.
Michael seconds it. Any further
Okey-dokey.
discussion? No.
Did you
All those in
sign
favor say aye.
Aye.
Pass it to Alex.
Okay.
It's going this way.
Thank you.
That everybody signs. It's gonna go.
Okay.
No, that's already made its rounds, we've already all.
Has anybody watched our meetings?
I know friends of.
Anybody know?
Because Silverlight, which you have to download to see it, doesn't seem to like Macintosh. PC? PC.
Okay.
Why don't
Valietto?
you call, is Jason Bridges sort of the guy who deals with us? I have his email, if you want to shoot him an email.
Let's go, guys. I gotta get back to James, we gotta
He's the
refile.
one who handles it. Okay, so we got a board here, so 414 Helen Lynch, 11 Milk Street. We're the applicant.
We looked at submitting over the dormers. I sent this to the owner.
That's awful.
Yeah, they preferred that we not, and they also preferred they still get an apron. And we thought that we should concede. So what you see is changed from 15 by 10 to 14 by 9, and it all is to weather.
Is it a wooden roof?
No, it's,
Currently, the house has
I believe it's,
existing ground cover of 33%.
Oh, but the house is natural to weather.
it is, the whole house, and this is natural weather.
And frankly, I don't care if it's out there or not.
It should have,
One and a half.
And their neighbors, okay, 1.5 inches?
Yeah, in between the slots.
Okay.
The lot is undersized, and
Somebody wanna make that
it's
motion?
allowed at 30% ground cover.
Abby's made a motion to approve with the roof block being natural to weather, including the skirt,
It's
and with an
awfully
inch and...
wide.
So we're here today to
What is it, an
request
inch
and a
and a quarter?
I
Inch and a
thought we
quarter.
used to do 3/8 of an
No,
inch.
we can go an inch and a quarter.
Inch and a quarter, okay.
yeah, so it's more just like a safety block rather than
A block.
a solid mass enclosure.
Okay.
So Abby's motion was a natural weather roof block with an inch and a quarter spacing between the skirt boards.
Isn't there an
All those in
article?
favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank
To- So we don't see these again?
All right, we're flipping the page.
That is good. Just okay.
Inch and a half was fine. David always goes inch and a quarter. That's one of those things.
You can't even see this from here.
Right.
I went by here today. I didn't change. It just doesn't.
Ryden? Carrie?
Then burnt, and that's it.
I don't know.
That's
So,
what I want to
is
ratify.
are there any questions other than what's been mumbled? No? Nothing? Karen? Michael?
No, we talked about it because we said it was like, we said it was like the rose and brown windows.
I knew that, but I didn't want to correct you in front of the TV audience.
We could do all of those. Okay, that's.
Okay, anybody in the audience want to talk about this?
No, not all of them. We ratified the votes that were
think,
taken.
can I get a motion?
Yes, but Don wasn't on it, so I'm not
Oh,
comfortable.
do we, although I don't
Unless you wanna
care,
just pick
but,
off-
I mean,
pick
do we
off
put in
the
our
two.
restriction
I'm not comfortable with that.
I think so.
I personally don't, I'm not going to vote for that,
Vote for what?
the time restriction.
Okay, so we're doing for everything else, you may as well say no construction between.
I mean, it's crazy that, whatever.
Whatever. We're putting that on.
But the one before we did October 1st.
In a couple months, they can do this.
The one this morning we did.
This morning.
Carrie Thornwell.
Stephen Cohen.
I put the reduced of what we had last time on the sheet with you, so you could see that there's so many little window changes and things that I just thought it was more clear if you could compare. So basically, we reduced some of the windows. That's what we proposed first. The big ones are the proposed. The massing has
Is it
only
already built?
changed in terms of the roof plane not being a 7. The main
All right, anyway,
mass
make a
is
mo-
an
let's
8.
make a motion to
The
move
smaller
on.
masses are now
Move to
9s.
approve
I
with,
also got them
no
to
building
reduce the plate height on the second floor so the thing didn't seem so wally.
Okay, all those in
And
favor,
then
say
really pushed the windows around and reduced some of the numbers of the weird windows on there, the little squares in funny gables and weird locations. And I think we really cleared up the fenestration. On the east elevation, we shifted the front door and revised the porch a little bit to
So anyway,
give it a little more
514
presence
Philip
because of that
Osley,
garage
12
mass
Broad
there. We
Street.
changed the windows on that end garage.
I think this
And
is
on
a
the
new one now.
garage on the south elevation,
Well, they are
while we didn't
requesting
change the mass of it
modification
because there will be
previously
living
issued
space up there, there will be a
special
bedroom
Right,
suite
because
up
it
there.
was-
I added some small
You said on the last
column
one,
hopper
it
windows to sort of mitigate the size of that upper
So
wall.
are
of the
we
garage doors.
comfortable
I
that
fixed the
nobody
garage
is
doors as well.
representing
They have
this?
some
And
funny,
Leslie,
tiny
do you
little
want to
side
summarize
light,
it?
transom lights above, and I just put them in the doors instead. I think that's all we did. The ganged windows, I get it, and we could separate a few more of them. On each elevation, there's one set of ganged windows. One of the elevations, which is the furthest from anybody's sight, has 3 sets, and I could separate them, a few of them, but there's some over a kitchen sink that really don't want to separate. There's some in a sunroom, dining room area that could separate.
All right, explain to me. This is a pork chop lot, correct?
It is.
It is. And so one of the points I want to make is that this house is actually more than 500 feet from the road.
That was my point. Take a
And
look at the site.
if you look at the site plan, it's really, the house is behind another lot that's over 500 feet long, and it's accessed by a driveway that's heavily wooded and over 500 feet long. And it's behind essentially the serving hydrangea nursery. The only sort of clear view of this is through the farm off of Smooth Hummocks. But that's 700 feet away.
so does that-
So I think that the vernacular for this house, even though it's somewhat atypical, is you have a farm that has a hodgepodge of buildings all over it that are not necessarily typical structures, and then you have neighborhoods that were developed at a time where the houses, frankly, look somewhat more like this than you might traditionally find on other areas in Nantucket. The whole 3M neighborhood and in Gulfview across the street has more suburban than typical Nantucket houses, and a lot of garages over there. You've got Marty McGowan's
Right, so it's a
lot over there.
two-pronged
There's a
thing.
lot. The
Improve the
vernacular for
modification
this
and
neighborhood does not suggest a high level of historic
Well,
appropriateness.
no, we're only.
based both on based both.
There's a parking waiver involved here, too?
No, we
No, we
already
already
did
did
that.
Oh,
The other issue, if you remember,
why
is
does it
that
say here we're
the
also seeking, why does it say here they're also seeking special permit relief to waive all parking requirements and says approval of the requested modification and a waiver? Oh, sorry, forget it, I take it back. I'm reading the wrong paragraph.
Okay, and then we are not we never blessed the awning that was in the town road layout.
It's so
They have to
inappropriate,
go
the
to
way there's that.
town.
But that's really the
All right,
side.
don't argue, let everybody
Okay.
talk, because I'm going to agree with what Don says.
And the garage can be attached, but it should
Not
be
that way.
separated. It should be its own
boils
additive
down
mass.
to
And yes, you
someone
can have
else
living
get
space above it that you access, but it shouldn't have a solid wall that goes right into the house.
That's an 80-foot wall.
I mean,
It does
that's,
not break.
it's not about it being,
Don't
to
talk.
emulate a historic house in town and not have an
Anybody in
attached
the audience?
garage, and it can be much more suburban, I completely understand that.
Okay,
But
so
there's,
any further
and
discussion?
I don't think 2 over 2 is really
Motion
appropriate windows
made,
in town.
seconded. Any further discussion? No.
But I
All those
just
in
think
favor
that this
say
entire
aye.
building needs to be
Wait a minute, we didn't
masked.
put a restriction.
And there's plenty of designs you can do, and have a nice big house with an attached garage, but this one doesn't work.
Well, Huntington Homes has,
All right.
Homes has lots of other
Huntington
styles that
Homes,
you
yes,
can
they
put
do.
all
It's not
over the
that,
place.
it just makes no sense.
it's plan
If you
driven.
have-
It's the
if
problem
the building
because it's
is
a
like
Huntington
4
home,
inches,
and
just
I'm
part
going
of
to
it
keep
into
going
the
there
setback.
until that
You
kid
can't
comes
do
down
anything.
here.
You should
Abby,
always
you
not
agree
be
with
able to work
everything
on that section.
Yes,
Don
I
said?
think
If
that
they're going to build a
the,
roof, the town is going to restrict them when they're going to
Does
be able
not
to do
work.
that.
and the garage.
What I don't understand is the south elevation comments. I understand the garage is big, but there are numerous homes with this configuration.
Hold it. They have a main mass with an attached garage,
Right.
living space over it.
Can I ask a question? Because
This is not working.
I get what you're saying.
Like 5 beneath with a garage
Yeah,
attached.
let me ask a question, because I think we want to try and get this done
not gonna get done today.
quickly and relatively inexpensively. If the garage had some separation in its connection, that would resolve that issue. And then, in terms of the rest of the massing, I think if perhaps the center door mass became more dominant over the one next to it, is that what you're looking for?
No. Those cables are putting together as well.
I need a
We
main
need to do
mass.
something
I don't
like-
have a main
We
mass.
just did a Huntington Home for Gym.
Memorial Day is crazy, everybody comes from the road.
And that was a good-sized house with an attached garage, and we had to bring somebody else in to help them finish designing.
Well, you can see what it would look like without the garage. It would be
Well,
a
for instance,
5-bay with a
in the
gable
finish.
forward. It would have a gable forward on the
It's this
right.
whole thing.
So-
It's this whole thing.
Okay.
1014, Edwin.
And the problem is, he doesn't get it. He's just throwing,
Well,
I know
it's
it's by
because that-
boxes, by boxes, by
Right.
boxes. And you gotta throw the boxes together in a
So do we
certain
need to
form.
vote on
This is
Kinetic
not
Cough
it.
in 1114?
Well, that piece is coming forward is the problem.
All of this
That
will
cable.
go into a different,
Of course it could, but they are trying to work with what.
And here's another
have,
with the
so-
model that they already have.
When you have, look at the south
But
elevation, you have a
this is not one
whole,
that's been done yet.
another ridge running right behind this ridge.
Well, that's the
Forget it.
gable on the front of the building.
So, but just in terms of well, I don't know about starting over, but what I want to do is just break it down to
Okay.
which 2 or 3 elements
not
would
least.
fix it, and I think that
The whole mass. We can't.
Well,
Steve.
14.
The whole
Yeah.
mass is wrong,
Susan
and I
M.
don't want to design it
Oh,
with the
yeah.
boxes in mind at the table.
But if the
redesign.
if the garage is separated and there's a main mass on the east elevation, does that address both of your concerns?
He doesn't have a main mass anywhere.
Well, I think it would, if you did it on the east elevation, it would feed into the right.
Well, you're looking at the south
Kathleen
also,
Killoy.
on the second floor anyway.
Um,
I don't, you know, I'm
here
not
today
as concerned
regarding
about
the
the
application
window
of
placement
Mrs.
because of the
Bowen
distance, but the
to expand an
massing has
existing
got,
gazebo located on the
somewhere
property
has
at
to be a
16
pick a point
Because-
and go
I don't
there.
think you
is
should go
located in
into a
zoning
retreat.
district.
But the north and west
This
actually
property
read
is
like the main and
classified as
additive
a
massing.
pre-existing
I think the
non-conforming lot
problem is on the east and
due to
south,
being
and I just want to know if
undersized
you
with
agree
an
with that.
overage of ground cover.
I don't even know because the whole
The
thing's
lot
gonna
and
change.
dwelling were created prior to
The boxes are gonna
1972.
move, so that,
Mrs.
then
Bowen
in
would like to
turn
expand
changes
the
the other
existing
two
gazebo
elevations.
on
And,
her
you know,
property
this is
from
your design,
121
Karen,
square.
No, I know,
You
it's
sort of
just a
deal
shame
with
because the
200
cost
square
issue and the
feet
time
added.
issue is why they went with
We
this,
understand,
with
but
this company.
Previously
And
submitted a
I get it,
building
I'm
We've
happy
dealt
to
with- we've had
redesign
the
and try to do
same
something
problem.
nicer
Commissioner
for them.
Steve
every other
Marshall,
Huntington home
however,
that's come in
he's
here
withheld the
lately.
issuance of the
Thank you.
permit
Everyone.
and asked that we seek
Somebody needs to have a
clarification from the
chat.
board.
I did tell him that
whether
you
or
want
not
to
a
see him.
gazebo
Yes,
should
we
be
do.
considered a structure that contributes
Abby's
to
made a
ground
motion to
cover.
hold for revisions. All in favor?
It is his position that
Dawn?
because of the recently added definition of
Then the other one is
outbuildings
Burke.
to the zoning bylaws, which includes gazebos,
Get some.
that gazebos are now to be considered as structures that contribute to ground cover, the definition of which does not specifically
Ray,
exclude
why are you still here?
gazebos.
Well,
We're seeking resolution of this problem in one of two ways. That the board make a determination that a gazebo is not a structure that contributes to ground cover, or in the alternative, that the board issue a special permit under section 139-33E2A, allowing the expansion of the existing gazebo by 80 square feet.
We're just gonna hold them all. We have to go through every file to figure out what's
So
happening.
historically, gazebos have not been considered as structures that contribute to ground cover by the building department. And as recently as last summer, the property at 16 Orange Street was surveyed, and the gazebo was not included in the surveyor's determination of the ground cover percentage. However, the most recent incarnation of the zoning bylaws, issued in September 2013, includes the newly added definition of outbuildings, which includes gazebos, which is where I think the confusion over whether it's contributing to ground cover is stemming from. I think the definition of outbuildings itself might be leading to some confusion, as outbuildings are currently defined as detached accessory residential structures such as cabanas, barns, hoop barns, shanties, greenhouses, gazebos, playhouses, fitness studios, home offices, not including dwellings or structures used for habitation, studios, or shed. And when you consider that a gazebo, as compared to the rest of the structures, is essentially a platform with a roof.
What are your,
Whereas the other structures are all structures that contain walls and doors
I had the same issue with my
and
garage.
floors. It
I can
doesn't
look at
seem
that,
to
but
fit in.
If there's a code
However,
issue, we'll come back.
If we consider the current definition of ground cover, which
If it's an
allows for a number of
If it's an
structures to be
in-swing. I mean,
excluded
we're
from
not here to
ground
talk
cover
about building code.
calculations.
But that would
It's fair to say that the gazebos are more
If it does, I'll be
substantially
back.
similar
It's
to
something
the
we'll certainly
excluded
look at.
structures like decks, unenclosed porches, platforms and stairs, and breezeways.
Yeah. Could I just go through a
That's
couple
based
of,
on the
yes,
shared
it's a
characteristics
pole
of the
barn.
gazebos
And
to
so
those
instead
currently
of doing the
excluded
shed dormer,
structures,
we just
gazebos
basically went
should
to
also
a
be
lower
excluded.
E-height, got rid of the
This
shed
is further
dormer.
evidence and supported by
Yeah.
warrant Article
The one thing I was going to
68,
suggest is, I think
which
we
is
could
up for a
even
vote at
drop
the next town
the
meeting,
porch on the side even
which
further.
seeks
See
to
the
revise
gap
the current
between the top
definition
of
of
the
ground
casing?
cover to
And then
specifically
just put the
exclude
windows
gazebos
across
from
the
ground
side
cover
there.
determinations.
Basically, put
So,
some windows on
at
the
this
side.
point,
Drop the
We want to
header
have a
of that
discussion
porch and still not drop the
this issue before we
My
move
other
on to the
question,
special
go
permit.
to the north
Let's have a
elevation.
discussion.
It's right in front of you. It's already in front of you.
Here?
Where the hell's the frame for that door?
You mean the casing?
It's banged right up against the corner board for the opening.
Yep.
Where's the frame, where's the frame for the door? It shouldn't it be,
There's a case, you can see that side
it a
casing in
slider?
the corner, but yes,
Okay.
yeah.
and what's behind it?
Just an opening, just nothing. It's going to be unconditioned space.
Yeah, I didn't know if there was an opening behind it,
No.
next to an opening, or
Right.
what's behind it?
There's literally, you just slide the barn door open and you're in the barn.
In the barn?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not a heating issue, we have to have doors and stuff.
No.
Do you want to submit that as exhibit I?
Right?
Yep.
You just drop, because it's still, you should have dropped it even further.
Motion to approve with the east elevation porch roof lowered to fit 4.3/3 is lined up with what's below it.
Yeah.
Awning is okay?
They're actually drawn as double hung.
As ground
Yeah,
cover?
everything else is done on the building.
Be nice.
On the east elevation, the porch roof will be lowered to fit in 4.3/3 windows
Makes
to
more
line up
sense
with
to-
and match the ones below.
As marked on Exhibit A. Okay, in Exhibit A. How far are they dropping?
Illegal. You can do a lot of things illegal.
If it was screened in, it would be ground cover.
Or 6 light double hungs?
Yeah. It's about 16 inches.
And it's gonna show up that you're changing out the north and south too, because it's lowering the side. That's through staff, Don, per Exhibit A, which will be held in the
Okay,
file.
I think we're in agreement that
All those-
forever and ever determination
Thumbs down,
does
say
not
no.
count as ground cover. Work.
All those in favor of John's motion?
No, I know, but talking about fire makes me nervous under any circumstance, you know?
But
And your boo.
Thank you.
Put your bumps and give it back. So you could do it here, where you actually give Okay, we could rehear those windows.
I agree with what you're saying.
He's here off Mock Island, he has to get back to Boston before he can't get back.
Yeah, is anything
Yeah.
running still?
Well, my flight's actually first thing in the morning, but
Oh, you think?
I think.
Melbourne?
Well, that's if Boston's at the airport, Logan goes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have to go over
What, this is
and then take
15
the bus
South
off.
Lawn? Which
Yeah.
building is
My
this?
point is,
It's the
Cedar.
Cedar.
Atlanta Cafe.
windows says, and so.
Representing the
we know
applicant.
there's a
Avi Shas from SN
correction
Consulting Group in
coming down
Wellesley.
the pipe.
Spell
That's not the-
AVI.
Spell the last one.
SHOSS
Said
as in
that
Sam.
we've gone against what the building commissioner has ruled on based on the bylaw.
Essentially, we are looking to create for the tenant Sea Dog Tavern a more summer
It'd be weird that it existed.
appropriate and draw for them, similar to what was approved at Rosencrown down the street.
I plan to call them.
Because of the grade change
Plan to
between
call
the
those.
sidewalk and the finished floor elevation, we thought that sliding or vertical windows similar to Rosencrown would be inappropriate, a code issue. So the thought was to create, recreating the exact same historic condition of the windows, a pulley,
Yeah, I'm good with
nautical,
determination. I understand
sufficiently
it's
engineered
a
pulley
position,
system to
but-
open the windows vertically.
I know you.
Swing them in like an old-fashioned garage door.
Okay, talking about the tilt in.
And,
No, the actual,
We had a problem with
the whole window would be hinged, so it would be a continuous
So it would go.
piano hinge, and there would be a
With the
pulley system up in the
determination, probably
ceiling that
don't
would
have
pull
to
the
wait.
window
They're
in
pulling
like
up.
And then it would just get
inside the
It would
space.
get lifted and
They would get,
open.
yeah,
We
there's,
couldn't read if they did this or did this or did this.
Are there it?
right,
Did
so
that the
that,
other day.
So they
But they
pull
don't have to wait
inside,
out
there would be 2
warm.
points of, for safety. There would be a clip system, and they would be tied and clipped. And the idea was to use nautical rigging as the pulley system.
Here's the
So
problem. I know when they had the doors wide open down on the strip,
I don't care when
they
you
have to have that blower and they have to have all the crap because you are food service and you have unprotected, you don't have screens.
Determination that
Right.
doesn't count for.
And they couldn't have an open door without having that big.
So there are no
door.
conditions
Last time they had
described.
plastic strips because you can't have open, depending on what's going on. And it could be they had to have that because they have an open kitchen.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
anyway,
think, I
fine,
think that's
so we
just,
can all get
it's
back.
because they're
Because they all have the little things.
yeah, so we're exactly. So this would be a reheat situation, so you wouldn't have a
Any
hood
further
condition
discussion?
or
No,
black
all those in
iron
favor
type
say
condition.
aye.
So there'd be no venting
Okay, I don't think
or
there's any
louvers
other
added to
business.
the
Is there?
elevation. That would be strictly for ideal weather conditions.
No.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons.
So,
why
yeah,
I
motion to adjourn has
thought we
been
couldn't
made
figure out
by
how they were
Ms.
going up and down,
Botticelli.
in and out.
Anybody
The
want to
other
second
issue
that?
was, last week was that it still looks
Any further
like
discussion? No,
3
all those in
windows,
favor
but
say
they're not.
aye.
It's one big plane, and that goes up in one big piece, and that's not normal downtown. The ones over at the Crown and a couple other places like Starlight, they're one.
Right.
They're
Like
window. It doesn't look like there are still 3 windows, but here's your other problem. That currently, I believe those windows are 2 divided light.
Right, and we would be recreating those as, we have a craftsman in Boston that would be recreating, essentially taking those windows and putting them into a larger frame. We're still trying to figure out whether or not the windows can be operable still in the closed position. But what we would be doing is in the closed position would be a
What
majority
if
of
the
the year.
homeowner takes
It would
6
look
months
exactly
building
the
that
way that it
little
does,
garden?
same trim, everything
One
would be
little hammer
natural
tap at a
wood.
time.
The issue with creating 3 separate windows that all raised in that way would be
All right.
there would be no way to
He's got
sufficiently.
signatures on it.
The
Just
problem
one.
is you're in the middle of the old.
Here. Here. I had done mine too, but those are new.
We were concerned that all of a sudden the 3 of them are going together, and they're not, still separate windows.
but they're not, they're gagged together right now.
Yeah, but they're separate, they're all separate. They're all separate sashes.
There's still gonna be
Just the whole
double
thing
hung
flips
windows.
side.
The whole thing flicks up just during
I
the
know,
summer.
we couldn't quite get that on Thursday.
Yeah, no, it's something we haven't seen before, but I don't really have a problem with that.